Welcome back, guys. Today we got a special friend of mine, Walden Lacey. Walden, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming. So I always like to kick these off with, what'd you do before real estate? What kind of got you into real estate? Yeah, we'll go from there.
Yeah, so was in college.
Yep.
Went to Spartanburg Methodist College on a religious studies major, playing golf. And about halfway through my first semester, I realized college wasn't for me. Starting working at Dick's Sporting Goods and taking night classes for real estate school. So what got me in, my dad was a real estate agent. He actually is a real estate coach. And so I just was always around that world growing up, and it interests me. And I knew I was a salesperson. Way I knew I was a salesperson is I went to a private school, had to take journalism class. I suck at writing. And so I made a deal with the teacher, Amanda Ledbetter. And I said, Miss Ledbetter, if I become a salesman for your yearbook pages and I do 12 full-page ads, can I get out of writing any of these stories for this yearbook journal? She's like, absolutely. Ended up selling 78 yearbook pages.
There you go.
And that's what got me into real estate. I knew I was a salesman and I was interested in real estate.
That's awesome. So was your dad a real estate coach yet at the time of you becoming a real estate agent, or has he developed in that over the career?
No, my dad was a real estate coach starting in 1996.
Okay.
So in 93, he was the number 7 agent in the world, actually.
Oh, wow. Number 7 agent in the world?
Yeah, with Coldwell Banker.
Holy smokes.
So he got into coaching in 96, and then he's been doing it ever since.
How was it jumping into the real estate world, having that help behind you?
Yeah. I love my dad.
Yeah.
There was no help.
Yeah.
It was, I had to figure out, you're going to figure it out. I'm going to give you suggestions, but I'm not going to be what propels your business. You need to figure that out yourself. I think the biggest frustrating part maybe was we were working out of the same town in Spartanburg, and everyone would call and be like, oh, you're Andrew's son. You're Andrew's son. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm Walden. I'm not Andrew.
Yeah.
So making a name for myself and not trying to go off my father's name.
Kind of setting your own identity.
That's right.
Awesome. So you've been in real estate for how long?
About 14 years.
14 years. And you work with what kind of clients? What's like your specialty?
Yeah, I would say my specialty is investors, actually,
Okay.
and coaching people to wealth in real estate.
Yeah.
And partnering along, not someone that's got $50 million, partnering with someone that's just got extra cash and saying, this is a good rental, this is a good flip, this is a good commercial property, this is a good development property. And I know 90% of our millionaires are created in real estate. And a lot of times that's a personal home maybe, and that appreciating over time, but why not have 1, 2, 3 rentals that helps propel you even further in your family's future and even further. Also work with sellers, a lot of sellers. So those are my two niches.
Investors and sellers.
Yeah.
What? So right now in today's market, with a little bit higher interest rates than anticipated, where are you seeing the best places to find these real estate investment properties?
Yeah, a lot of times off market.
Yeah.
And so we partner with attorneys, we partner with other agents, because a lot of times other agents will call me and say, hey, I don't have the money and I don't have the people. Do you have someone that would like to buy this? This home can't go on market and have a loan. It's going to have to be a cash deal. It's going to have to be strategic private financing. Do you have someone for this? So I have actually agents calling me and saying, hey, we believe we have this deal. And so how we honor that agent is, if that agent calls me and I have an investor buy it, that agent gets to list it on the back end, because otherwise we wouldn't have that property without that agent if it's a flip. And if that agent brought it to me, that agent's going to represent that buyer on the front end. And long term, so far for that, it's been really beneficial, because we've gotten more opportunities than your average agent.
How key do you think it has been to build those strategic partnerships with those realtors in order to get the best deals possible out there?
Oh, it's almost everything.
Yeah.
There's one of me. There's 5,000 agents in the upstate. I'm not going to every house. I'm not walking in every deal. But if I set a standard that I'm going to protect you and your pocket and your profit, you're going to call me.
It's kind of like everybody wins scenario.
That's correct.
I love it. So jumping back into more about like the typical housing buy market, what's the most unexpected home feature Greenville buyers are suddenly obsessed with? In instance like countertops, special appliances, like what do you think that you see majority of when somebody walks into a house like, oh wow, I really like that?
Yeah. Definitely kitchen always.
Yeah.
But I think COVID really moved that needle to outside features, actually. So people were stuck at home. People weren't going to work. People wanted outside space because they were being told, you got to stay inside. And so screen-in porches, covered porches with tongue and groove ceilings, pools became really popular. I mean, you see before COVID, pools were averaging maybe $40,000-$50,000. Now you can't build one for under $100,000 because of demand.
Yeah.
So outside features, it doesn't necessarily add long-term value the way a kitchen or redoing a master bath does, but that's what people are desiring now.
That's awesome. Is there something that in particular, jumping back to a little bit to the investment side, is there something in particular that if you buy a house and your plan is to renovate and then flip it, you know, besides the kitchen, what are some other areas in the house that you're really looking to make an update to get the most bang for your buck?
Yeah. When I'm designing these flips, I think that's what people don't know about me is I'm actually the one that goes in and changes the floor plan and is handling all of the process with the contractors. It's a one-stop shop for me and the investors. But opening the floor plan up, making sure there's master on main if there's not one already, making sure there's functionality of the home. What is a woman going to walk into this house and care about that she's not going to get with other houses? And that's who we're going for, right?
Yeah.
The man's just there to say, okay, honey, that sounds great to me. But ultimately, the wife's probably going to be the decision maker that says, honey, I love this house. I want this house. So we're trying to identify those things where she walks in and this house feels different than any other house she's walked into in that specific price range.
Like they say, happy wife, happy life.
Yes.
So Greenville has a rich history of being the textile capital of the world. Are you seeing old buildings or mills finding new life as homes?
As homes for renters,
Yeah.
right? You go downtown, you see the Judson Mill, Dunnian, and all that. They're getting
Downtown
renovated.
Clear, yeah.
I mean, it's insane. Same thing in Spartanburg with Drayton Mill lofts, Arcadia lofts, Fair Forest lofts. You have investors and capital coming into those to turn them into rentals because we don't have enough housing right now.
What about that StarTex area? Are they doing stuff over there?
I don't know if they've started that project. I've heard that they were going to start a project there, but I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be exciting. I kind of grew up in that area a little
Okay.
bit, yeah. Has there been a recent wow moment in the Greenville real estate market that left even you amazed?
That's a great question. Man, I hear all the time there's no way prices can keep going higher. And I have a fundamental belief that that's the biggest lie in real estate right now. It's not a wow moment. It's a wow moment on other people's faces.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that house I could have bought 2 years ago for $325 and it's worth $375 now, and someone's paying that. And because I didn't act, and because I thought I was smarter than the market, and I didn't take my realtor's advice, or I got bad advice even maybe, I missed out on $50,000 in equity and having a home right now. Those are my wow moments nowadays, and that's only going to continue to happen, in my opinion.
That's awesome. Going back to, the seller side where you work with a lot of sellers, what are some like key misconceptions people have about selling their home?
Well, I think about for sale by owners.
Yeah.
It's the first thing that comes to mind is I'm going to make more money if I don't hire an agent. And there's a statistic, if you look up realestatewitch.com, that the average for sale by owner right now sells for 26% less than the average homeowner that hires an agent. So if you're paying 3%, 4%, 5%, 6% commission, let's just say, you're going to average making 20% more hiring a real estate agent. And they think that, and that was the case. I want to be perfectly clear. In 2018 and 19, Zillow made a switch. And so we ask for sale by owners all the time, Mr. For Sale by Owner, is it more important to you to sell your home and not pay commission, or sell your home and make the most money? And they always say make the most money. Well, in 2018 and 19, the number one marketing source for sale by owners, Zillow, made a change. People think Zillow is a functionality of selling your home by yourself. It's not. Zillow made a change where they said for sale by owners do not put out good content for us to get leads to sell to agents. So we are going to identify a secondary page for them that, number one, you, the consumer, has to know to click on. Number two, then has to search and find that number. And so what we found is the average for sale by owner was getting 10 to 12 times less views and saves than the average agent-led listing. And what that in turn did is less views, less saves, less showings, less offers. You're going to sell for less. So it ends up hurting you long-term than helping you long-term, and you end up not making as much money as a for sale by owner on average. Doesn't mean that there can't be the one or two
Unicorns.
But overall, if you were a betting man, if I was a betting man, I'm going to bet in an agent-led listing always over a for sale by owner-led listing.
Absolutely. What are some key things, not to talk about like anybody specific or anything, but what are some, maybe as somebody starting out new, what's some key mistakes you see real estate agents make when going to list a client's home?
We were just talking about this before coming on. Number one is professional photography, professional marketing on the home. And a lot of times I hear the excuse of, I don't have the money. I haven't had a closing yet. I can't invest. Well, you got to invest money to make money, right? And you got to invest in people, and you have a fiduciary duty to put the best product out for the most success for the seller. So that would be number one. Number two is setting unrealistic expectations. Hey, I want a listing so bad. I'm brand new. I've never had this before. And Chris, I believe your home can sell for $500,000, but your home's only worth $450,000.
Yeah.
You're setting that seller up for disaster. You're setting expectations that, number one, the market can't meet. Number two, you can't meet, and that's only going to end bad. And it's going to end bad for you and your reputation in the market.
What happens when you list a house for way more money than what it's actually worth? What does it actually happen to that property?
Yeah, you're going to learn really quick what the market thinks about it.
Yeah.
And it's either going to be one of two things. You're going to have no showings, and then you're going to look like a fool, right? Or you're going to have a lot of showings and no offers. And you're going to be getting reviews back from your peers, right? Feedback, hey, this house is too high, this house is too high, this house is too high. Well, the seller's getting that feedback. And what does that mean for you, right? You told me that my house was worth this, and it's not. Why did you tell me this? So it just hurts your reputation long term to not have an upfront, honest conversation.
Is there any effects or like stigmas around houses that get that are priced way too high and then start getting drastic price cuts or pulled off the market and put back on the market? What does that put in a buyer's mind?
Yeah. So I actually know of a top agent in Greenville because I've gone up against them in listing appointments, and they'll purposely price a home too high and then drop it 2 to 3 weeks into it drastically to make it seem like it's now a deal. I mean, that's their marketing strategy, which I don't agree with. The stigma comes from when you go under contract and then you come back on, because it's always the assumption something's now wrong with this house.
Yeah.
And it's not that, the buyer financing could have fell through. It's not that maybe they didn't get that job transfer. It's something's now wrong with your house. The stigma also is, well, you've been on the market this long. Now I have the leverage in negotiating in the buyer's mindset, which you never want that to be the buyer's mindset, right? Would you rather be receiving an offer 10 days in or 100 days in, right? And the buyer's mindset are completely different depending on that.
You also hear about the strategy too, about listing a little bit below the value and then trying to create a bidding war. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw that a lot during COVID, right?
Yeah.
How do we have a home that's special? We have a home that we know is going to have a ton of showings. We have a home that we know we're going to get an offer the first weekend. Well, let's not stop at one. Let's go 5, 6, 7 offers, and then we can push the price back up to what we were originally going to list. But more importantly, what I've learned with sellers, it's not all about price. Sometimes it's about those terms, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I want to stay in the home an extra month because I don't move for 3 months. Hey, I want to make sure we waive the appraisal contingency. Hey, I want to make sure to get a cash buyer here. There's a whole different, just because price may matter to you doesn't mean it matters to that seller. And you got to identify what matters to that seller on that listing appointment. Is it terms? Is it terms and price? Is it just price? And then that way you can better advise them moving forward what's gonna make it happen for them.
And another thing that you just said too is I've always had a difficult time wrapping my mind around what's the difference between a cash buyer and somebody that's getting a mortgage, because at the end of the day, you're still going to get that money in your bank account.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
All right. The cash buyer is typically, I'm not saying every time, but typically they don't have an appraisal contingency, right? They don't have a contingency for financing. You're just now operating in the due diligence period. And once you get past that due diligence period, they're done. Well, with a financing buyer, you're not done. You still have contingencies. You still have income that needs to be stated, that someone that's going to give them that loan is going to say, yeah, you make enough money for this loan. You still have an appraisal you have to work through. And, I love appraisers. I hate appraisers at the same time. But ultimately, an appraiser is one person's opinion for that day. And that's what people don't understand. Matter of fact, I had a house probably 2 years ago. It was a little $120,000 house over in Spartanburg. Sold it first day on market, multiple offers, had a contingency upon appraisal. First appraisal came back at $85,000. One person's opinion for one day.
Yeah.
We decided to put the home back on market. We ended up selling for $125 at that point. It appraised the next appraiser. And so that just teaches you, okay, with a cash buyer, if I don't have to go through these extra steps, I don't have as much risk not getting to the closing table, which is ultimately what everyone's trying to do. With a financing buyer, you're operating with other third parties that you have no control over. That's the difference between buyer contingency upon financing and cash.
That's awesome. And that makes a ton of sense. So here's a kind of a funky question. If you had to describe Greenville's real estate market right now as an amusement park, what amusement park would you describe it as?
I don't know the most up and coming amusement park. That's what I would describe it as. I don't know if that's still Disney. I don't know if that's Carowinds. I don't think it's Carowinds. I don't know if it's Six Flags. I don't know if it's Dolly World. You know what? I actually think it's Dolly World, because what I've been hearing from people with kids lately is, I'm not going back to Disney because I've discovered this now, and that seems to be the up and coming thing right now that everyone's flocking to. That's what Greenville is right now. Locals think we're already Disney World because they've lived there their whole lives, and they're seeing this real estate market, and they're like, no way we can get better than what we are now. People moving in, migrating here, they're thinking they've just discovered gold.
Yeah.
Right? I love this place.
Yeah.
Is what they're saying. So
it's funny you said that, because Dollywood is actually my favorite.
Dollywood, yeah.
Yeah, you said Dollywood.
Yeah.
But Dollywood is actually my favorite. It's just easy to walk. The kids can ride almost everything, no matter how big they are. It's a good time up there. Plus, you get to see Dolly Parton everywhere, so that makes it even better. She's awesome. Yeah. Tell me about some predictions maybe you have for the upcoming market for the Greenville greater upstate area.
You're losing money every day you don't buy, period.
Yeah.
If we look at the national average right now, $475,000 is the national average price. Greenville's $385,000, Spartanburg's $310,000. Mm-hmm. We're still a deal. If you look at trends, going forward, so South Carolina as a whole since 1991 has gone up about 375% with year-over-year pricing, where the national, like California, Colorado, Utah, Texas, they're up 450, 550, 600%. We still have room to grow. And with the amount of migration, with the amount of jobs creation, it's only going to push pricing up more. And the number one thing I hear right now, Chris, is I'm waiting for interest rates to come down.
They're not coming down.
Well, they are,
Yeah.
potentially, eventually.
Yeah.
They're not coming down today.
Yeah.
But when they come down, how many more people are making that statement you're making right now?
Yeah.
There's a ton of people on the sidelines like you that are waiting. We already have a strong market. We're still in a seller's market right now. It's moving to a buyer's market, but we're still in a seller's market right now. If interest rates come down to 5.5 today, let's say they're at about 7 right now, you think there's going to be people coming off the sideline that's waiting like you?
100%.
And what's going to happen, right? It's going to start making housing prices go up because there's going to be more demand. And that means you didn't buy here. Here's what I say, and I hear a ton of agents say it. It's not what Walden Lacey's saying, but you are married to your purchase price and you're dating your rate, right? You're never going to be able to change your purchase price of your home.
Yeah.
You will potentially be able to change your rate. So if you can afford that home today that you can buy for $350, $400, $300, doesn't matter, at a 7% rate, I can promise you can afford it at a 5.5% rate.
Yeah.
But what's not going to happen is when that 5.5% rate comes back, or 6%, if it does, you're going to miss on that $20, $30, $40, $50, $60,000 of appreciation, rapid appreciation that you otherwise would have had if you would have bought now instead of sitting on the sideline.
Absolutely. Tell me about your most unique flip. Like, what's one that stands out to you the most?
It's a great question. You know, You mind if I talk about how I kind of got in flipping?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was sitting in Ingalls. I was 20 years old, and I used to go in the bread aisle and put business cards under bread. And so whenever they would pull out the loaf, my business card would fall on the ground. They would have to pick it up.
That's awesome.
And I remember I was sitting on Highway 29 at the Ingalls on Warren H. Abernathy Highway, and there was a lady in front of me and a gentleman behind me. And the gentleman behind me, I handed my card. I said, if you ever need to buy or sell a home, please give me a call. And about a week later, I got a call. Hey, this is CJ. CJ who? CJ Patel. How do I know you? You met me in Ingalls. I said, oh, hey, CJ, how are you? I'm good. Hey, I'm going to come to your office next Wednesday. And so I came to the office, and what he didn't tell me is he was bringing 2 agents that weren't part of my office at the time. Mm-hmm. And CJ had 3 legal pads. And he threw us each a legal pad, and he said, these are the same 10 houses. I'm going to meet with y'all in a week, do research, and tell me which ones I should buy as flips. So the 2 agents went. They came back, sat down with him. And then CJ came to me, and he said, tell me which ones I should buy. I said, you need to buy these 2 of the 10. And he said, why? I said, these are the 2 to guarantee you not to ever lose your money if the market turns down at least 20%. I can't guarantee what the market's going to do. He said, what does your contract say? I said, you buy and sell through me until I lose you money. He signed it right there. I'm 20 years old, right? I had no clue what I was doing. I've never done a flip, but I knew how to value real estate at that point. And I said, I just asked him, I said, why'd you pick me? He said, well, one of them told me to buy 8. The other one told me to buy 9. You were the one looking out for my interests and not your own. He ended up doing 18 flips that next year, and he made a little over $800,000 with me. And what I learned from him more than anything, and then started approaching people with money. So unique flip probably came in, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago in Greenville.
Yeah.
It was the biggest flip we'd ever done. It was on Waccamaw Circle in the Augusta Circle area. Because we had only been really flipping like $200,000-$300,000 houses, putting 50 into them, selling them for $450, and just moving. We were doing a lot of volume. And this one, we were buying the house for $350,000 and putting another $500,000 into it to upgrade it.
Holy smokes!
Adding addition, taking it up from 1,900 square feet to 3,000 square feet, adding a bedroom and a bath, making 2 masters. The uniqueness was we had never done it before. Right. And I had never wanted to suggest something that big. I felt really comfortable suggesting, hey, give me $350,000 and I'll go make you $450,000. But it was never, give me $800,000 and I'll go make you 1.2. Right.
Yeah.
But once I proved it to myself and how unique it could be, then we started focusing on, okay, not only can we do the small ones, we can do any of them. We have the crews, we have the time, we have the management skills to make this happen for the investor. That would probably be my most unique one.
How crucial would it be to have all that lined up before you ever even started the process of purchasing your first investment home?
Yeah. So kind of tell you about our process. Our first 14 days are the most crucial part of the process. I have a project manager that works for me and only me on my projects and my investors' projects. It's something unique I offer that no other agent offers. And so in that 14 days, I'm in that house more than I will ever be again. I'm not going to manage it after it's done, but I'm giving the vision to the project manager. I'm giving the vision to the investor. And then we're starting our cost basis of what it's going to take to execute that vision. So during our due diligence, we're finding what problems do we have to fix? Are there plumbing leaks? Do we need to upgrade the plumbing? Do we need to upgrade the electrical? Do we need to update the roof? Is there anything wrong with the foundation? That's the protection phase, right?
Yeah.
Now there's the execution phase of we're going to open up these 3 walls. We're going to redo these bathrooms. We're going to put new flooring throughout. We're going to paint the whole house. What's that going to cost? And once we add those 2 together, is it still a profitable project? If the answer is yes, we move forward after those 14 days. So that 14 days is the most crucial part of the process. Then from there, we have another 14 days to close. We're typically closing. We can close faster than 4 weeks, but we're purposely trying to take 4 weeks because then it's allowing the project manager to set a schedule. So day 1, we hit the ground running. And it's worked really well. Another misconception about that and execution is everyone wants to get it done as fast as possible. And I tell people to slow down. We're going to try to get it done in 90 days in certain price ranges because there's laws, and specifically there's lending laws saying, hey, you can't buy an investment property if the person hasn't owned it more than 90 days. So you're cutting out potentially an FHA buyer, VA buyer, a USDA buyer if you don't know that going into it. So yeah, a project you could do in 30 days, it may not be worth it because your buyer can't buy it for another 60.
Oh, wow. And there's so many different types of way to do real estate investment. Is your favorite method the fix it or buy, fix, and flip? Or, do you ever do like the BRRRR or long-term holds? Like, is it specific to the property? Like, how do you look at that?
Yeah. I would say I cut my teeth on fix and flip.
Yeah.
I'm actually, it depends on the market, right? When interest rates were at 3%, BRRRR method was great.
Yeah.
Because cash flow was great. You were appreciating at a rapid pace. Long-term rentals were great. I've done it all. This has become a fix and flip market because we do not have premium inventory.
Yeah.
Right? We have a lack of inventory and we have a lack of premium inventory. And because of that, we've moved our model to we're going to do fix and flips for the time being. We're actually moving away from that. We're moving into new construction now for our investors. And we're moving because we see that to be the future. And we're also moving into development for our investors. We see that to be the future and the most profitable for this season, right? Whether that season lasts 2 years or whether that season lasts for 5 years is yet to be determined. But we feel like the most profitable way for our investors right now moving forward is going to be new construction and development.
Nice. Yeah, I remember I was talking about that a little bit off camera, and that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Tell us about your team right now. What does the Lacey team look like?
Yeah, so just me and my wife and an admin. We did I think over 50 transactions last year for a little over 17 million in volume.
Heck yeah.
Lacey team day-to-day operations. I'm running it. I get to leave my beautiful wife at home with our child and her raise, Naomi. But we're looking to grow.
Yeah.
We have too many leads.
Yeah.
I can't get to all of them. And so we're looking for that right agent to put in place that simply put wants to go to work.
That's awesome.
Because so many agents don't, man. You know that.
Yeah, no. Well, that's why we got 5,000 and maybe like 1,500 of them are really active.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think really causes that in the market? Like, why does so many people get licensed and then never do a transaction? Do you think they just get stonewalled from the initial grit and grind it takes to be successful in the real estate world?
Yeah, I think our world is such a world of gratification right away, right? At any point, I can type anything into that phone beside me, get an answer. I can go on social media and feel good about myself today. That's not the real estate world.
Yeah.
When I got into real estate, the first 60 days, I went on 37 listing appointments. I got told no 37 times. So I had a decision to make at day 61. Am I going to get up and keep going and keep getting told no? Or am I going to stop because I'm going to feel sorry for myself? And that's what agents do. And I'm glad I didn't stop. The next 60 days, I went on 17 appointments and got 7 listings, and I've never looked back.
Heck yeah.
And so fear, not doing the proper things, thinking business is going to come to them instead of going hunting. That would be huge for me. I can't tell you how many agents I coached when I was team leader at Keller Williams that was scared of the phone. And that was one of my recruiting pitches to new agents. If you're scared of the phone and scared of work, you're in the wrong business. If you're scared to talk to people, you're in the wrong business. If you're scared of change and putting yourself out there, you're in the wrong business. Well, I want to identify you as a new agent. What are you good at? I want you in your gift zone. So let's find out what you're good at. And I want you out of your comfort zone because this business is going to make you uncomfortable.
That's awesome. So when you say you're looking to grow that team, what are some key attributes you're looking into a real estate agent that's looking to potentially join the Walden Lacey team besides being relentless and not scared of the phone? Is there any other key characteristics you're looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. I want them to have a heart for people. I don't want them to see people as a dollar. I want them to see people as people and how to love people differently. I want them to be coachable. And I want them to be able to implement change that they never thought that they could implement in themselves, right? And I want them to have goals, right? I don't want to have their goals for them. I want them to come in and say, this is my big why. Let's identify that. What's going to get you up out of bed every day? Because money's eventually not going to do it. It may be money right now, but money's eventually not going to do it. And if we can identify those, coach you to those, help you to those, and hold you accountable to those, that's who I'm looking for, as long as you love people.
That's awesome. If people are looking to reach out to you or Brianna, how can they find you?
Yeah, social media, give me a call. Look me up on social media. My number's there. Facebook, Instagram, doesn't matter.
Is it just Walden Lacey?
Walden Lacey is Facebook. Lacey Team is YouTube channel, stuff like that. Just reach out that way. You can Google me, my number comes right up as well.
Well, I expect it, right? You know, King of Spartanburg.
Maybe. Yeah. Yep. Anthony might have something to say about that. but
Well, y'all could duel over it. First
right.
blood gets the title.
That's right.
There you go. Man, well, I appreciate you coming on. Had a great time and looking forward to the next one.